wisdom, but I've never done it this way. So
Wonderful. And let's hit the record to the cloud. Well, welcome back, everyone, and good morning on this bright, sunny morning. Now it's starting to lighten up a little bit here in the Northeast. My name is Janice Malillo, the host of Stories. Now, today's conversation could potentially be sensitive in nature, so we just wanted to alert everyone to that. I also want to welcome all of our amazing listeners currently live on the Wisdom Audio app. So without further ado, I want to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Samantha Ruth. She is the author of Permission Granted, and we're going to talk more about that. But welcome, Dr. Samantha. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
thank you so much for having
And of course,
me.
there we go.
Thank you so much. You froze to me. So
you are so welcome.
And I'm a co-author. I want to say that there are 19 other amazing authors in this book. So for everyone listening and watching, it's a beautiful celebration of 20 wonderful stories about giving yourself permission.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with that. And thank you to all of your amazing co-authors on that project. What I found so inspiring about the stories in general, and of course from your story as well, because you obviously were a contributing author on this project, you really shared from a psychologist, from a professional's point of view, and you came right out and said on the back cover, you know what, here I am, a trained professional, like I know what to do. Can you explain your story and really the depth of what you meant by that statement?
Certainly. I'm aging myself, which I don't care. 25 years experience at this point. So 20 years in the field when I lost my husband at the time. I have always worked with highly at-risk teens and their family. So I have been working with death by suicide, drug overdose, loss, grief, and trauma for 20 years. I have all the training in the world, all the books, all the schools, all the courses, and it meant nothing when I lost Jim. Absolutely nothing. My knowledge, none of that. You cannot learn what to do or how to deal with loss and grief. And I learned that personally, and a lot of the world, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of friends and family expected me with that training to know what to do. I certainly thought I would have been better prepared. And it doesn't matter if you are a rocket scientist and have every degree out there. There's no preparing for losing the love of your life or for any loss.
You said that so eloquently, that there was no way to prepare for what had transpired for you. And I'm sure as well, obviously, with your amazing co-authors on this project. And as I shared with you, and as I've shared with my listeners and viewers on Stories That Inspire Us, obviously, this podcast is inspired by my son's, what he went through, a life-threatening injury. And I just want to let everyone know he's okay, blessed and grateful. Of course, I always want to, make sure that I get that across. And by the way, that's his high school picture in the corner there. I know our listeners on Wisdom can't see that. That's when he was in high school many, many, many years ago. He's now 35. But, it just goes to show you that in the midst of when a tragedy happens, and I know that I will be obviously referring to a lot of what I went through as a parent, in that moment when Ryan had his accident. Now, obviously I didn't find out about it until the next morning, but the way I perceived life in that moment was totally blown out of the water. Because in that moment, we know what we don't know, and we know what we know. I didn't know this was transpiring. I was on top of the world. In that moment, that vague moment, my son was not with me. I almost lost him.
Life changes. My perspective about things changed in a blink, and traffic no longer mattered, and the line at the store, things suddenly became so insignificant to me, and I didn't realize what I was doing while I was deeply grieving, but I was becoming extremely selective and intentional about who I was spending time with, what I was spending time doing, because I had lost enough. Life was hard enough. And now I'm aware of, but I do not choose to be around things that are negative or bring me down. Life is still to this day challenging without him. And so I choose who I'm around, what I put into my body, what I watch, all of the things I am much more conscious of. And I don't tolerate certain things, and I don't deal with things that I would have put up with before. And that happened in a blink.
Right, in the blink of an eye. And as we know, when these tragedies become problematic, like a lot of times, obviously in looking back, I try to look into the blessings that occurred along the way. And when we are going through something so traumatic, and obviously this is from a very personal standpoint, and that I am not the professional on this topic, but as a parent going through something so tragic and looking back, I also realize that those, as you mentioned, those little insignificant things like being in traffic, which brings me to the point when I realized I was in traffic on one of my many trips back and forth to Philly, when I realized, something my son said to me before I left Philly. And I think in our minds, there is a lot of traffic.
Absolutely. That we're surrounded by, I call it noise. There are even through healing, even through getting through something difficult, there are people giving their thoughts, opinions, advice. I'm in Colorado. My family's in Michigan. You need to get back home. You need to be around, you need to be around the people who love you the most. You need to get back to work. People mean well. To anyone struggling. We're going through tragedies right now. There was a shooting less than 48 hours ago in East Lansing on Michigan State's campus. I have been talking to parents who didn't know if their kids were safe. It's one thing to go through the loss. There are so many people who have had the I don't know where someone is. Some of those people have a happy ending. That's still a trauma. They still will never be the same. And then we have the rest of the world that is acknowledging this crisis that we're in the middle of right now, but very quickly bounces back to life as we know it. But for these people on that campus, wherever they were, for the people who live in Lansing, whether they were on campus or not, life doesn't go back to what it was as they knew it ever again. And that's the part of loss that we don't talk about because it's uncomfortable. And that's the part of loss where people are giving, you should. And I want people to know, if you are afraid to go back to campus,
we are a little frozen here. I do apologize. We can never predict the The Wi-Fi gods. Dr. Samantha is.
Are you there? Am I gone? You look frozen to me, but I might be frozen to you. Do not know what to do. I am the host now. Well, I wonder if people are listening. It says that I am still live. I'm going to keep talking. If you are struggling, if you are afraid to get back to class, if you are in class and you can't get your paper done or you can't concentrate, these are real issues and these are real things. And just because the world is moving along fast, quickly around us, that does not mean you are different, wrong, at fault. I believe that the world has it backwards and we are the ones that are having a healthy response to an unhealthy, tragic, traumatic situation that took place. And people around us don't have things set up to deal with it. If your teachers are, if your RAs, if people are not offering things, and there are things set up on campus at Michigan State for you, but it is also okay to say, can I stay home? Can I Zoom? Can I take my class remotely today? Right? There is no shame in saying I'm struggling after something like that. And there are people who have had a past trauma, and it might not have been a shooting, that are having a reaction to a current trauma. And that is normal. It does not mean anything is wrong with you. It happens all the time. And a lot of people think, what did I do wrong? Why is this a setback? It's not a setback. We are dealing with a real life tragedy and you are having a real life reaction, and the tragedy would be ignoring it. So I encourage you to talk about it with someone you feel comfortable with. 988 is the national line that anyone can call and be immediately connected with a trained professional, and you will get whatever it is you need. And you might not know what that is, but they will help you figure that out, and you will not hang up until you have a plan or you are connected with the person that you need to be connected to, and you don't have to figure it out alone. I am going to try and reconnect with Janice since this is her show, and hopefully I'm not frozen and talking to myself in my house sillily. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you are struggling, please reach out to someone. 988. You can connect with Janice to connect with me. You can reach out to me at samantharuth.com, and please pay attention, take care of yourselves, talk to yourself, each other, someone you know and trust.